What happens when two of the most outspoken voices in Hollywood collide on live television with no filter and no restraint? Total meltdown. And it only took 29 seconds for Robert De Niro to make Joy Behar so furious that she stopped the entire show mid-broadcast after their brutal exchange spiraled completely out of control. Before we dive into this explosive confrontation, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We give you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the moments they try to hide, and the confrontations that break the internet. Hit that subscribe button now, because you won't get coverage this raw anywhere else. Last night's episode of The View was supposed to be a victory lap for Robert De Niro, promoting his latest film while discussing politics and culture with the panel. Instead, it became one of the most vicious, unfiltered exchanges in talk show history. What started as political agreement between De Niro and Joy Behar somehow twisted into a personal attack that left everyone in the studio absolutely speechless. The interview began exactly as you'd expect. De Niro walked out to massive applause, the audience on their feet for the legendary actor. He sat down next to Joy, who greeted him warmly, clearly excited to have him on the show. They'd always been aligned politically, both outspoken critics of the same issues, so everyone expected this to be a friendly conversation, full of agreement and mutual admiration. The first few minutes went perfectly. They talked about his new movie, his incredible career spanning decades, his dedication to his craft. De Niro was vintage De Niro, thoughtful, intense, giving careful answers about his work. Joy was eating it up, praising his talent, his integrity, his willingness to speak truth to power. Then they shifted to politics, which was always going to be part of the conversation. Joy brought up De Niro's very public statements about political figures he disagreed with, his passionate speeches, his refusal to stay quiet despite criticism. She framed it as heroic, calling him brave for using his platform. De Niro nodded, but something in his expression shifted. "Yeah, I speak my mind," he said. "Always have, always will. I don't care what people think about it." Joy smiled. "That's what we love about you, Robert. You don't hold back. You say what needs to be said." "That's right," De Niro agreed. "And what needs to be said is that this whole system is broken. All of it. The politicians, the media, the whole damn thing." Joy's smile flickered slightly. "Well, not all media, surely. I mean, there are journalists doing important work, holding people accountable." De Niro looked at her directly. "Are there? Or are they just reading talking points? Because from where I'm sitting, most of what I see is just noise. People talking to hear themselves talk." The energy shifted. Joy laughed uncomfortably. "I think that's a bit cynical, Robert. There are real journalists doing real work." "Maybe," De Niro said, shrugging. "But there's also a lot of people who just want to be on TV, you know? They want the spotlight more than they want the truth." Joy's smile was gone now. "Are you including talk show hosts in that assessment?" De Niro paused, looking at her with those intense eyes. "If the shoe fits." The audience gasped. You could hear it, that collective intake of breath. Joy's face went through several expressions before settling on controlled anger. "That's interesting," she said tightly. "You come on a talk show to promote your movie, but you're suggesting talk show hosts are just attention seekers?" De Niro leaned back in his chair. "I'm saying some people in this business care more about being famous than being honest. That's just a fact." Joy set down her note cards. Robert, I've been doing this for decades. I've interviewed presidents, activists, journalists, actors like yourself. Are you really sitting here telling me I'm just doing this for attention? I didn't say you specifically, De Niro said, but his tone suggested otherwise. But you implied it, Joy shot back. You're on my show, and you're implying that what I do isn't legitimate journalism or conversation. De Niro shrugged again, and that casual gesture seemed to infuriate Joy even more. Look, Joy, you asked me what I think. I'm telling you what I think. The whole media landscape is polluted with people who care more about ratings than reality. Ratings? Joy's voice rose. You think I do this for ratings? I do this because I believe in having important conversations, in giving people a platform to speak their minds, like I'm giving you right now. And I appreciate that, De Niro said, not sounding appreciative at all. But let's be real. This show, it's entertainment. You ask softball questions, people clap, everyone goes home happy. That's not exactly hard-hitting journalism. The other hosts at the table looked like they wanted to disappear. This was going sideways fast, and nobody knew how to stop it. Joy's hands were shaking. Softball questions. Robert, I've asked you about your political views, your work, your impact on culture. What exactly would you like me to ask? De Niro leaned forward. How about asking me something you don't already know the answer to? How about having a conversation instead of an interview? How about treating your guests like people instead of content? Content? Joy stood up now, her chair scraping loudly. I have treated you with nothing but respect since you walked out here. I've praised your work, agreed with your political stance, given you every opportunity to promote your film. And you're sitting here, insulting me and my show? De Niro stood up too, matching her energy. I'm not insulting you, I'm being honest. You wanted the outspoken De Niro. Well, here he is. I don't do fake nice. I don't pretend everything is great when it's not. There's a difference between being honest and being an asshole, Robert, Joy said, her voice cracking with anger. The audience was completely silent now. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of this meltdown. De Niro's face hardened. Now who's being honest? See, that's what I'm talking about. The second someone doesn't play along with your format, doesn't give you the answers you want, you get defensive. I'm not defensive, I'm pissed off, Joy shouted. You came on this show voluntarily. Nobody forced you, and now you're using it as a platform to trash the very medium you're participating in. That's hypocrisy, Robert. It's not hypocrisy, it's commentary, De Niro fired back. I can participate in something and still critique it. That's called thinking for yourself. Joy pointed at him, her finger shaking. Don't you dare lecture me about thinking for myself. I've built a career on speaking my mind, on challenging power, on not backing down from difficult conversations. You don't get to come here and diminish that. I'm not diminishing anything, De Niro said, his voice getting louder. I'm pointing out that there's a difference between challenging power and performing for cameras. And right now, I can't tell which one you're doing. That was it. That was the breaking point. Joy's face went bright red, and she turned to the cameras, not to De Niro. We need to stop, she said, her voice tight. We need to stop this right now. Cut to commercial. Stop the show. The producers were scrambling. You could hear people talking frantically off camera. But Joy wasn't done. She turned back to De Niro. You know what your problem is, Robert? You think being angry and being right are the same thing. You think if you're loud enough, intense enough, if you don't smile or play nice, that makes you authentic. But it doesn't. It just makes you difficult. De Niro actually laughed, a short, sharp sound. Difficult? I've been called worse. At least I'm real. At least when I speak, people know it's coming from me, not from some producer or focus group. Oh, please! Joy threw her hands up. You're an actor, Robert. Your entire career is based on pretending to be other people. Don't stand there and lecture me about authenticity when you literally get paid to lie for a living. The other hosts gasped. That was a direct shot, and everyone knew it. De Niro's jaw clenched. Acting isn't lying. Acting is truth under imaginary circumstances. What you do here, asking questions you don't care about to get soundbites for social media, that's closer to lying than anything I've ever done on screen. Joy grabbed her microphone pack and started unhooking it. That's it. I'm done. I am absolutely done with this conversation. Good, De Niro said. So am I. This whole thing is exactly what I'm talking about. The second you face any real pushback, any real challenge, you shut it down. You want controlled conversation, not real dialogue. Joy threw her microphone on the table. You want real dialogue? Fine. You're an arrogant, self-righteous, ungrateful guest who came on this show just to be confrontational. You didn't come here to promote your movie or have a conversation. You came here to feel superior, to prove some point about how you're more authentic than everyone else. De Niro pulled off his own microphone. And you're exactly what's wrong with this format. You invite people on. You pretend to want honesty, but what you really want is compliance. You want guests who will play along, who will give you your moments, who won't disrupt your comfortable little echo chamber. Echo chamber? Joy's voice was shaking with rage now. I've had more diverse voices on this show than you've had authentic moments in the last decade. Then why can't you handle one guest who disagrees with your approach? De Niro challenged. Why are you melting down because I pointed out that talk shows are more about entertainment than enlightenment? Joy turned to the producers again. Are we still live? Cut the feed. End this segment. I will not stand here and be disrespected like this. But De Niro wasn't done. This is exactly my point. You can't handle criticism. You dish it out every single day on this show, talking about politicians, celebrities, anyone you disagree with. But someone criticizes you, and you want to end the show? Because you're a guest, Joy screamed. You're supposed to be here having a civil conversation, not attacking the host and the entire format of the show. I'm having the most civil conversation I know how to have, De Niro said, his voice dangerously quiet. Just because you don't like what I'm saying doesn't make it an attack. It makes it uncomfortable truth. Joy looked around at her co-hosts, at the audience, at the cameras. Did everyone hear that? This is what we're dealing with. Someone so convinced of their own righteousness that they can't see how insulting they're being. De Niro stood up straighter. You want to see insulting? I could tell you exactly what I think about this whole production. About the questions you ask, about the way you treat your platform. But I don't think you could handle it. Try me, Joy challenged, stepping closer to him. The tension was explosive now. Everyone in the studio was on edge, waiting to see what would happen next. De Niro looked at her for a long moment. You know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to stand here and argue with someone who's more interested in winning than understanding. I came here in good faith, and it's clear that was a mistake. He started to walk toward the exit, and Joy followed him with her words. That's right, walk away, just like everyone else who can't handle being challenged. De Niro stopped and turned back. I can handle being challenged, Joy. What I can't handle is being disrespected while being accused of being disrespectful. You started this by getting defensive about my media criticism. All I did was speak my mind, which is apparently only acceptable when you agree with what's being said. Joy's eyes were blazing. You came on my show and insulted everything about it. I critiqued an industry, De Niro shouted back. You made it personal. You took it as an attack. And now you're ending the show because you can't handle the conversation. They stood there, staring at each other, both breathing hard, both furious. The studio was so quiet, you could hear the cameras whirring. Finally, Joy spoke, her voice cold. Get off my stage, Robert. De Niro nodded slowly. Gladly. Good luck with your show, Joy. I hope one day you figure out the difference between having a platform and using it well. He turned and walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the silent studio. Joy watched him go, her fists clenched at her sides, her whole body rigid with anger. As De Niro reached the edge of the stage, he looked back one more time. For what it's worth, I used to respect what you did here. But this, right here, this proved everything I was saying. And with that, Robert De Niro walked off the View's stage, leaving Joy Behar standing there, the show in chaos, the audience in shock, and the cameras still rolling on one of the most brutal exchanges in talk show history.